Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into the bullish case for XRP based on a recent analysis from Common Sense Crypto. They're pointing to some pretty interesting signals and strategic moves that have a lot of people talking. So, what's all the buzz about? Let's get into it.
All right, so the analysis kicks off by really capturing that emotional whiplash that, a lot of XRP investors have probably felt. You've got the absolute thrill of seeing the price shoot up to almost $2.40, and then that gut-wrenching feeling when the market suddenly pulls back. It's this exact roller coaster that really sets the stage for their entire argument.
So, with all that volatility, you might be wondering, why are they so bullish? Well, the analysis points to some really compelling market signals that suggest there's a lot more going on under the surface than just those daily price swings. Let's dig into the data they're pointing to.
Okay, first up, performance. Take a look at this. In a recent one-week period, Bitcoin did pretty well, right? A solid 5.75% gain. But XRP? It just exploded, surging 22.5%. I mean, it basically left the market leader in the dust. That's not just a slight edge, that's a huge statement.
And here's the thing. They argue this isn't just a one-off. It's becoming a pattern. It's a signal that something fundamental might be shifting in the crypto world. We could be looking at the very early days of a new dynamic where XRP starts to move on its own terms, not just following Bitcoin's lead.
And that brings us to this really key concept they talk about, the decoupling theory. For years, the holy grail for a lot of altcoins has been breaking free from Bitcoin's gravitational pull. The analysis suggests that XRP might actually be on the verge of doing just that, trading not just on market hype, but on its own real value and what it can actually do.
But how does that happen? Well, they argue the key, the absolute game changer, is utility. As XRP gets used more and more for things like cross-border payments and other financial services, its value will be tied to that real-world use case. It'll be driven by actual demand, not just by what the rest of the market is doing on any given day.
Okay, so that's the theory, but what could this all mean for the price? The analysis pulls together some fascinating forecasts that, when you look at them together, paint a really exciting picture of potential growth. Let's get into the numbers. First up, we have a price target from a pretty surprising source, ChatGPT. Yeah, the AI. It reportedly crunched all the data and came back with a projection of $8 to $10 for XRP by 2026. Now, is that a real glimpse of the future or just a super sophisticated guess? Either way, it's definitely interesting.
But that's not all. Crypto analyst Mason Versluis takes it even further. He's looking at market cap analysis and sees a potential path for XRP to hit $30. Now that is a huge jump from where it is today, but he argues it's absolutely within the realm of possibility.
But here's where it gets really wild. What if even $30 is playing it safe? The analysis points out that for many diehard members of the XRP community, even these predictions are seen as pretty conservative. They believe the real potential is, well, much, much higher.
So what on earth could trigger a breakout like that? The analysis points to what they call a perfect storm of catalysts. You've got a potential boom in asset tokenization, which would create massive demand for XRP. Then there's a possible supply crunch coming up, and on top of all that, you have a flood of institutional money coming in through ETFs, which could then trigger a wave of retail FOMO. It's a powerful combination.
And that institutional money? It's not just a theory, it's already showing up. The analysis highlights a single day's trading volume for XRP ETFs that was nearly $60 million. That's not a flash in the pan. That's a clear signal that the big players are getting serious, and it could just be the beginning. Price predictions and market charts are one thing, but they don't tell the whole story. The analysis argues that the real engine behind XRP's potential is what Ripple, the company, is doing behind the scenes. Let's look at how they're actually building the foundation for all this real-world adoption. So, check this out. One of their biggest moves recently was acquiring a company called Sphexiya. Now, this company is deep in the nitty-gritty of finance. We're talking payments, compliance, fraud detection. This is a massive signal that Ripple is dead serious about bridging the gap between the crypto world and traditional finance. And we're not talking about some small startup here. Sphexiya's client list has huge household names on it, like 7-Eleven and Coca-Cola. What this means is Ripple isn't just building some isolated crypto project. They are actively weaving themselves in to the very fabric of the global economy. The power moves don't stop there either. Ripple's top executives, including their CEO, Brad Garlinghouse, are now acting as advisors for Evernorth, which is a major treasury firm that's focused on XRP. This shows they are all in on building out a powerful ecosystem to drive the use and adoption of XRP. So, we've seen the bullish signals, these ambitious forecasts, and the strategic corporate moves. But what does all of this actually mean for the average person watching this space? Well, the analysis wraps up by looking at the bigger picture, and it offers some real words of wisdom for the road ahead.
But let's be real for a second. The path to mass adoption is never a straight line, right? The analysis is quick to point out there are definitely bumps in the road, from potential market swings caused by outside events to the incredibly slow pace of government regulation. It's a good reminder that this is a long game, and patience is absolutely essential.
So, what's the big takeaway here? In a market that's filled with noise and short-term panic, the analysis really urges a different perspective: patience. The bullish case for XRP isn't about getting rich overnight. It's about a long-term vision for real-world utility. And for anyone who believes in that vision, the message is simple: stay positive and stay the course.
And that leaves us with the one question that will ultimately define the future of XRP. Is its story going to be about real-world substance or just more market speculation? Will its price finally be driven by what it can do, or will it continue to be tossed around by the whims of the market? The answer to that could honestly change everything.